Hello, welcome to CH Pleasure Brews. I'm Tim, and tonight we're going to do a $100 deck tech on Pako and Haldan. Chonky boy, let's go fetching. But before we get started, please check out our Discord and our Patreon. Links are in the description below. And if you like our content, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And back again is my boy Brandon. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing great, Tim. How are you?
I'm good, dude. Work was busy today.
I feel that.
Yeah, you know. So without further ado, I guess let's get started. How's that sound, man?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I just scrolled down the bottom there. So, for those of you who don't know, who Pako and Haldan are. So, Pako is a 3/3 elemental hound for a green, a red, and 3 colorless. Has haste, and then whenever Pako the Retriever attacks, you exile the top card of each player's library for each, and then put a fetch counter on each of them. Put a 1/1 counter on Pako for each non-creature spell exiled this way. And Haldan, who is a human wizard 1/4 for a blue and 2 colorless, partners with Pako. You may play non-creature spells. You may play non-creature cards from exile with a fetch counter on them if you exiled them, and you may spend mana as though it were of any color to cast those spells. So basically what happens is you attack with Pako, you flip 1 card from each player, yourself included. They all get counters on them. And then if they are non-creature spells, you put a 1/1 counter on Pako himself, so he gets huge real quick. Like, real huge. Especially because the more competitive your meta is, despite what the budget, the more non-creature spells you'll hit. And then Haldan will allow you to turn those cards from exile into cards in hand. So what's great about Pako and Haldan is now you have, not only do you have a really good clock in the command zone, you also have card advantage built in the command zone. So with that in mind, my version of Pako is a beatdown deck. I am simply trying to power out Pako really fast and protect him. He's my Delver of Secrets, basically. You play him, you flip him, and you just ride him to victory. So I'm playing a lot of stuff like Tinderwall, Rite of Flame, Simian Spirit Guide, Ilsean Caratid. I'm running Birds. I'm running Jorga Tree Speaker. I'm running Soul Ring. I'm running a lot of ways to power out Pako as like turn 3 at the latest. If I can, turn 2 would be preferred. And then the idea is that we just use that as our main game plan to win the game. Because we're running counter magic, we're running things like Bolt Bend, which will allow us to redirect things that are targeting Pako. Misdirection, we're also running. So these are all cards that will allow us to redirect any type of spot removal on Pako. Same thing with Autumn's Veil. And then we're also running cards. We're obviously running like a full suite of counter magic as well, with Counterspell, Decisive Denial, Offer, Delay, Mana Leak, Snare, Stubborn Denial is a great one because Pako is pretty much always a 4/4. Like, he might as well come into play as a 4/4. But the idea is that we can use those to protect him while we're assembling our win. Then on top of that, we can also play Haldan after we play Pako, and then we can just start using all the cards that we gained from our opponents to defend Pako or win the game with. We are running some like damage doublers. Probably my favorite is Cadiz, which will allow us to, whenever Pako deals damage, it'll just auto deal damage to the other 2 opponents, which will vastly increase our clock. Because pretty much for the most part, by the time Pako deals 21 damage to somebody, he's probably killed them just manually anyway. So if we can help that along by killing other players at the same time, that's not a bad plan. We are also running a couple of turn spells like Walk the Aeons, Karn's Temporal Sundering, as well as Arrowloot Epiphany. Then, here's the nice thing that we're doing. So since Pako allows us to cast spells from exile, we're going to flip a lot of lands off of our opponents. So we're running stuff like Explore and Summer's Bloom to help us convert those land drops into ramp. Because while playing our own lands for turn is good, being able to just, as much as possible, utilizing what our opponents can do will help us further along. We're also running cards like Salvage and Reclaim to put cards from our graveyard back on top of our library so we have live hits. So all of our turn spells, the Karn's Temporal Sundering exiles itself, the Epiphany exiles itself, but the Walk the Aeons doesn't. Cards like Summer Bloom, Bolt Bend, just like a lot of stuff like that doesn't exile itself. So what we can do is we can start reusing spells that we've already cast and then get them back into exile with Pako. We also are running Dualcaster Mage Twin Flame. While assembling it can be a little clunky because we're not really running a lot. Like, we're not running a lot of tutors. We're running Solve the Equation, and then we're running, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Like, this deck is really designed to stick Pako and protect him, and then use that as your way to win. A couple of the other ways that we're going to protect Pako is we're going to run Nurok Stealth Suit, which allows us to, for double blue, equip at instant speed. Winged Boots gives them flying and ward 4, which paying 5 mana for spot removal at $100 budget is not great. Like, that's at bare minimum they're paying 5 to target him, and then that helps us protect him a lot better. That also, the ward also counters abilities as well. So if like there's like a anything that can like a destroy effect or a tap down effect like on a creature, they will have to pay an additional 4 for that ability to resolve. We're also running Swiftfoot Boots as well. So we have three pieces of equipment that either give us Shroud or Hexproof or some type of evasion. Plus we're running some divert effects, like we're running Divert, we're running the Misdirection, the Bolt Bend. We also have Autumn's Veil, and then we also have our Counter Magic Suite. And that's not counting anything else that we get from our opponents as well. We are pretty deep on, like, we're running Crystal Vein. Like, that's how deep we're going to kind of get Pako early. Like, we're also on Wild Growth as well. I'm not running lands that will make Pako unblockable, because I have found that it's just not necessary. You just hit the guy that's open, and then you're using the cards that you generate off of the flips to kind of clear the board, so to speak. We're running a couple of spicy hits here. So Delayed Fireball Blast is like incredible with Pako, because it just deals the 5 damage if it's cast from exile. It's not if it's foretold. So you can just flip it, pay the 3 off of Pako, and you're dealing 5. You know, we've got some pretty good spot removal like Resculpt. We've got Lightning Bolt. We've got Beast Within. We've got the good stack interaction. Decisive Denial. Not only is it a counter spell, but it's also like removal because we can use it to fight. And then extra turn, like one of our extra turn spells also is a bounce spell. And then just to give you kind of an idea, like we're playing Oracle Omidai because will allow us to play extra lands of our own, plus help us clear the top of our library. So, any questions? I know that you play Pako and Haldan sometimes.
Yeah, I actually helped my friend build his own deck, and we went more along the lines of using the extra turns to our benefit. Like we use seasons pass, temporal manipulation, time warp, and stuff like that. And the whole our whole game plan was to essentially just go deep with taking as many turns as possible and swinging as fast as possible. Essentially, with Paco.
Well, I mean, and that's a good strategy. But like on $100, like you get priced out of a lot of turn spells.
Believe it or not, when we built the deck originally, it was just under $100. It's I'm looking at the essentially the same list, and it's roughly 120 now.
Yeah. So like, what extra turn spells are we not running that you are?
Temporal manipulation and time warp mainly.
Okay.
But we also use like Underworld Breach and Seasons Pass to kind of recur them more and more often.
Yeah. We thought about doing that, and I like from my experience, like with like especially like kind of this is one of those decks that I'm like after playing in the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and then after playing, and then like after playing with some of the guys that play down there at where the budget tournament was, and help and like kind of brainstorming with some of my buddies that I play CH with that
Mm-hmm.
also played in the budget meta down there, like they're locally there. This is kind of one of the brews that we came up with, and the theory is that as long as you can kind of stop the like one person who has the early attempt, then you'll be able to like close the game out quick enough that plus like you're flipping cards off, like you're just getting 4 cards a turn off of Pako.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely a lot of advantage, which I love about him the
yeah,
most personally.
yeah, yeah. I'm actually I'm going to be going to Columbus, Ohio for the Command Fest. If you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be there, come say hi. I'll be playing CDH on Saturday down there, and I'm planning on taking this with me. And we're gonna test it. But we all agree, like, I mean, we all showed up. None of us had ever played in the budget meta before, really. We all top 16. It was like 60 people. So we all went like 2-1-1 or better. And this is kind of one of the decks that we kind of came up with. The cold deck that we talked about the other day, that's kind of just me like a deck that I have played at $100 or slightly above, just making like a slightly like refined $100 version. So probably one of the biggest things that's not like super obvious beyond the fact that like we're playing these cards like Extra Bloom and Explore to help us draw the cards, like, or play the lands from exile. They're also ramp, obviously. Is that we can play, like, we can't really support Walk the Aeons. Like, we're only running 8 islands, so at most we can do it 3 times. But what we can do is we can play it, maybe play it a second time, and then play like Reclaim or play the other one that I'm blanking on its name real fast. Salvage.
Salvage, yeah.
To put it back up, flip it, and then play it again. I mean, because in my experience, like, Paku doesn't, like, in a competitive meta, like, once this thing swings twice, it's killing people.
Yeah.
I mean, it flips once, it maybe gets 2 counters, so it hits for 5. And then, like, by the second flip, if it hits the flip and you get Haldan out, you kind of you have so much interaction, you have so much just kind of advantage at that point. Like, while you haven't officially won the game, you're so far ahead and in such a commanding position that it's hard for you to not be able to maintain that position, especially since you've already stopped the one fast deck from going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much that can contest the board on an 8/8 Pako. So And then the other thing is all of the cards in this deck are all designed to like have some kind of benefit if they're in your hand or they're in exile. Like if you flip them, so like there's modes. Like a lot of some of the cards are like take Return to Nature for example. Like all three modes are relevant. It exiles a card from a graveyard. It hits an enchantment or an artifact. You know what I mean? Decisive Denial is a counterspell, but it's also removal. So yeah. I think that this is going to have legs. I'm going to take this down and I'm going to jam it. I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to assembling the ultra combo of Cadiz with like a huge ass Pako and just like hitting people. Like as far as I'm concerned, Cadiz is like an extra turn spell.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, yeah.
she's just yeah, so like that's the thing. Like for me, the extra turn spells aren't about creating an infinite loop. It's about shortening the clock. So I've built this deck kind of like the Delver decks of Modern and Legacy, where you land a threat and then you protect it and you keep your opponents off balance enough while that threat closes the game out. You know what I mean? You can think of Pako as like Delver or Tarmogoyf for whatever people are using nowadays to kind of to close the game out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas a lot of the more conventional versions of the deck will lean heavier into those extra combats and those extra turns. So, all right. Well, I think that about covers it. Like, unless you got any comments.
Nope, that's it.
All right. And if we do flip tutors, we can always go get Dualcaster Mage Twin Flame.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's another thing. Like, that's another reason why I'm not so deep on tutors, because I figure we're gonna like. The idea is that you're gonna be able to assemble some of those things from your opponents. So, all right. Well, thanks again for joining me, and everybody. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.